Slexchan here, welcoming you to my very first Naruto review. Today I'll be going over chapter 506, so I'm ready for it, you're ready for it, let's get started. So, this is the big, predicted Guy vs. Kisame fight. Not a whole lot to talk about just because, it is a fight. There was a few things that I was a little, not happy to see, which is the fact that Guy was the one who ends up fighting Kisame. I mean, nothing against these Guy vs. Kisame fights. They're funny and everything, and, Guy's a great character to see him fight and everything. He's a really great ninja. It's just, this is, the third time we've seen this, and for me it's getting old. I'm one who likes new material. I like to see the different fights, who Kishimoto thinks should be matched up against one another, and what kind of combinations they can pull off against each other, and what the ending results are. And, this fight, I've seen it one too many times already. It also comes with a lot of old, corny jokes and whatnot from the first time, which is, Guy not remembering who Kisame is, for example. Who didn't see that joke coming? This chapter, he mistakes him for a giant blowfish. Yeah, it's not funny anymore. Not to take anything away from this fight, I know it's going to be a really good fight to watch and everything. It's just not going to be my cup of tea. I'm not going to enjoy it as much as some others would. And I can already see that just from reading the first few pages of this chapter. Another thing that, I was kind of not too happy about is actually because of my personal prediction that I had for this chapter. I was hoping to see Naruto fight with Kisame and sort of use him as a way to break in his new QB mode that he has. Clearly that didn't happen. Not saying that it can't still happen. I mean, there's a chance, but odds are against it just because of how intense this fight between Kisame and Guy has gotten in this chapter. And also, Naruto's hurt his foot, so I don't really see him hopping into the fight anytime soon either because of that. And let me just say, I really like the fact that Kishimoto made Naruto sprain his ankle. Now, don't get me wrong or anything. I'm not trying to say that, I enjoy watching Naruto physically hurt himself. That's definitely not the case. But what I did like was that, even though he is such a strong character and that he's got all these amazing jutsus under his belt and he's got this brand new power up and he's king of the world in Konoha, he can still sprain his ankle. I just love that. I love how Kishimoto's keeping the realistic aspect in his story and not kind of straying away from it, which is great. That's something that I really like to see, so thumbs up for that. Yeah, other than that, there's not a whole lot of excitement. There's a couple of funny lines that were said at the beginning by Killer Bee and Guy. They're both really goofy. Another really interesting part about this chapter is the Samehara. It kind of latches on to Killer Bee, and Killer Bee suggests that the Samehara was actually being forced into hiding Kisame and stealing his chakra. I'm still a little iffy about that. I don't really trust that sword, just because it's changed sides so many times, right? It jumps onto Killer Bee and starts sucking his chakra away, and Killer Bee just lets it. He trusts the sword and everything, so I mean, part of me is saying, you should trust the sword because Killer Bee does, so, he wouldn't let it just take his chakra if he didn't trust the thing, right? On the other hand, that's really suspicious. So, I don't know, I can't help being suspicious of things like that. The sword basically helped Kisame get all of his strength back, so, yeah. I guess we'll see what happens with that, hopefully next chapter or sometime soon. 'Cause that sword's really interesting to me. It's got its own personality and everything. It's a pretty cool sword. And I would love to see it stay on the good guy's side, the bad guys are wicked and everything, but I mean, seeing Killer Bee with that sword is just, great. Like, I mean, they're like a match made in heaven almost, or at least they appear to be that way, right? Other than that, there's not a lot of stuff that happens in this chapter that's really interesting to talk about. We see Guy open up his 7th gate, which is the Wonder Gate, and I believe this is the first time we've ever seen him open up any gates. I could be wrong about that. My memory does tend to fail a little bit. He may have opened a few gates during his, or during the Gara retrieval arc, when he fights his mirrored self. I'm not too sure about that though. Be nice if someone could like let me know or something in the comment section. But yeah, I thought that was kind of cool, just, seeing him power up to that level. Because you don't really get to see Guy use a lot of his skills, And we certainly haven't seen Lee open up very many gates either, which is something that I've always been kind of anxious to see that too, since the tuning exams. I've always wondered, like, oh my gosh, what could he possibly look like, when he opens up all of his gates? And of course, that's double-edged sword, so I'm also thinking, like, when is it going to be too many gates, like, when is this going to cause them to die or something? And, I'm not trying to say, like, I'm not hoping for their deaths or anything. It's just, it keeps me wondering. Guy and Kisame seem to be pretty evenly matched. I mean, at one point, Kisame sends like a whole wave of these sharks out, and one of them has a scroll in his mouth, and I guess that's containing some information about, where the Jinchuriki are and what Naruto and Killer Bee have been doing with their training and whatnot. And so Guy uses his only option, which is to shoot a whole bunch of chakra punches out at these sharks, and it's so cool. Like, it's just a whole wave of chakra just being thrown at this wave of sharks. Like, he calls it the morning peacock. I like it. To me, it was even better than the last panel, which is, still really epic too. The afternoon tiger and the giant shark missile. Both are obviously two extremely strong attacks. They seem to be even. So I guess we find out what the results are next week. Who's gonna, fall and who's gonna prevail. I'm hoping it's Guy, but you never know with this kind of stuff. I mean, Akatsuki members have won before, so only time will tell. I really hope Guy doesn't die, just because he's such a funny character. He brings a smile to my face every time I see him. He's just always doing something so silly, so really hope he doesn't go anywhere. I don't think Kishimoto would kill him off. Like, what would be the point to that? I don't think he'd be accomplishing anything with it, so I'm hoping this is goodbye to Kisame, and therefore being goodbye to the Guy vs. Kisame sagas as well. But yeah, I guess we'll only find that out next chapter. Hopefully this fight doesn't continue on for a really long time. One thing I don't like in Naruto is really drawn out fights. I think the plot is always a lot more interesting than the fights are. That's just my preference. I think Kishimoto does a better job developing a story than he does developing the fight scenes in the story. Again, that's just me. Some may have a different opinion than I do. If that's the case, then cool. I just can only take so much fighting at a time, Not too much else to say about this chapter, so I guess I'll end it right here. Before I go, I just want to give a quick shout out to my friend Strider Crestone, who has drawn all of my art for me in these reviews. Thank you so much for that. I kind of asked him on the spot, and he basically just dropped everything and drew them all for me, so thank you so much. I know you've been busy and stuff, and this was really random and out of the blue for me to ask you, so thank you. You guys can go check him out. I'll leave his link in my sub bar. Go to his page, check out some of his art pieces. He's a really great artist, so definitely worth going and having a little visit there. Anyway, Naruto chapter 506. Did you guys like it? Did you hate it? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? Did you find it to be kind of a boring chapter because of the fight, or did you really like the fight? Were you looking forward to the fight? What do you think about, what we've seen so far in the fight? Let me know in the comment section, and I'll see you next week. Bye now.